Lamia Beard of Norfolk, Virginia, was 30 years old, and she loved to sing. Her favorite singer was Beyonce. She spoke fluent French, and she loved to read. She was in the chorus in high school, and people would pay her to sing at funerals and weddings. Lamia was found mortally wounded from a gunshot wound on January 17th, and her sister has no idea why anyone would want to hurt her.
Say her name, Lamia Beard. Say her name,
Lamia Beard.
Say her name,
Lamia Beard.
If you could light her candle, sis. Thank you. Keyshia Blige. Keyshia Blige.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could read her bio.
Keyshia Blige of Montgomery, Illinois was a 33-year-old and had a motto, live your life, no matter what anybody says. Although she often worked 2 or 3 jobs, she was known for her generosity and her willingness to be there for the people she cared about, often taking in friends, family members, and acquaintances that didn't have anywhere to stay. And on March 7th, Blige was shot in the shoulder while driving and crashed her navy blue car after attempting to drive herself to the hospital. Police still have to make an arrest, but they say they do not know because the shooting was not random.
Keyshia Blige. Say her name.
Keyshia Blige.
Say her name.
Keyshia Blige.
Say her name.
Keyshia Blige.
Candice
Let me
Capri.
light her candle. Let me light Keisha's candle.
Thank you. Candice Capri. Hi. Please read her bio.
Candice Capri, 35, of Phoenix, Arizona, enjoyed spending time with others and going out. Her friends and family variously describes her as loving, kind-hearted, and a goddess. She was slain on August 12th, possibly during an attempt to intervene in a domestic dispute.
Candice Capri. Say her name.
Candice Capri.
Say her name.
Candice Capri.
Say her name.
Candice Capri.
Will you please light Candice's candle? Thank you. London Chanel. Will you please read London's bio?
London Chanel of Victoria, Texas, was 21 years old and hardly ever frowned. Friends remember. She always had a smile on her face and her laughter was infectious. She recently reconnected with her mother, who initially struggled to support her transition. She was planning to move back home before she was stabbed to death, May 18th.
London Chanel. Say her name!
London Chanel.
Say her name!
London Chanel.
Say her name!
London Chanel.
Thank you. India Clarke.
India Clarke, 25, of Tampa, Florida, was into all things beauty and makeup and was studying to become a cosmetologist. Her body was discovered on the morning of July 21st. She had been shot in the head. Her last words to her mom and dad were, "Mom, I love you. Dad, I love you." A county spokesman insisted on referring to her as a man in a dress and refused to categorize her as transgender.
India Clarke. Say her name!
India Clarke.
Say her name!
India Clarke.
Say her name!
India Clarke.
Keep going. Taja DeJesus. Oh. You can use yours if you want.
It's beautiful.
Taha DeJesus was 36 years old, an active member of her Bayview, California church, a food pantry volunteer and a trans activist. She got her first job when she was 15 so she could earn enough money to buy a stereo to play the music that she loved and was passionate about. She was found stabbed to death on February 1st in a stairwell.
Taja DeJesus. Say her name!
Taja DeJesus!
Say her name!
Taja DeJesus!
Say her name!
Taja DeJesus!
Keep going. Samara Dominguez.
Tamara Dominguez, 36, of Kansas City, Missouri, came to the United States 7 years ago from Veracruz, Mexico, to escape discrimination against transgender individuals. She was attending classes to learn English in hopes of one day becoming a nurse. She was hit by a truck early Saturday morning and then driven over by that truck again and again.
Tamara Dominguez. Say her name!
Tamara Dominguez!
Say her name!
Tamara Dominguez!
Say her name!
Tamara Dominguez!
Alright. Okay. Thank you. Can we get another candle to rest off? Please, Ace out. Thank you. Okay. Woo. Papi Edwards. See you.
Papi Edwards of Louisville, Kentucky was just 20 years old and loved hip-hop, the Bad Girls Club, and the Real Housewives franchise. She loved hanging out with her friends in ball culture. On January 9th, she was ambushed in her hotel hallway, shot dead by a man who became enraged when she learned that she was trans. Quote, "As far as I'm concerned, that was a man that was shot dead. It was always a man." That's a quote from the policeman in a BuzzFeed article from January 28th. Papi Edwards.
Papi Edwards. Say her name!
Papi Edwards!
Say her name!
Papi Edwards!
Say her name!
Papi Edwards!
Casey Haggard.
Casey Haggard from Visalia, California, was 66 years old, retired and a graduate of Chapman University. She worked as a security guard and later as a legal marketer for Legal Shield. In the months before her death, she was organizing safe places for trans women to meet on Facebook. She was stabbed to death on July 23rd. Haggard remained on the street for 20 minutes before a passerby called paramedics.
Casey Haggard. Say her name!
Casey Haggard!
Say her name!
Casey Haggard!
Say her name!
Casey Haggard!
Keep going. You see, you see how long this is taking? Walk with that. Mya Hall.
Mya Hall, 27, of Baltimore, Maryland, was a sweet jokester who let others stay in her motel room when she had one, enjoying dressing in skirts and kidding with her friends. A lot of people envied her, a friend says. Mya was killed and a friend injured after officers opened fire on the pair after they allegedly crashed into a guard post at the National Security Agency.
Mya Hall. Say her name!
Mya Hall!
Say her name!
Mya Hall!
Say her name!
Mya Hall!
Amber Monroe. I see you.
Amber Monroe was 20 years old and from Detroit, Michigan. She was outgoing, charismatic, and loved to dance. She strived to be employed and showed interest in doing HIV work. On the morning of August 8th, she was shot to death in a park. She had previously been shot and survived on 2 separate occasions. Amber Monroe.
Amber Monroe. Say her name.
Amber Monroe.
Say her name.
Amber Monroe.
Say her name.
Amber Monroe.
Yazmin Vash Payne.
Yazmin Vash Payne, 33 of Los Angeles, was found on the morning of January 31st in her apartment's kitchen, dead of multiple stab wounds. Latina transgender activist Bambi Salcedo organized a vigil for her, where supporters held signs saying "No transphobia in the valley, basta no más muertes." I know that some of you are thinking tomorrow is Super Bowl, Salcedo posted on Facebook before the vigil, and that will be your excuse for not to come and demand our sisters to stop being murdered.
Yazmin Vash Payne. Say her name.
Yazmin Vash Payne.
Say her name.
Yazmin Vash Payne.
Say her name.
Yazmin Vash Payne.
Penny Proud.
Penny Proud of New Orleans was a 21-year-old. She belonged to Breakout, an organization working to improve access to workforce/GED programs for LGBTQ young youth in New Orleans. She was fatally shot on February 10th by an unidentified assailant, likely in the middle of a robbery.
Penny Proud. Say her name.
Penny Proud.
Say her name.
Penny Proud.
Say her name.
Penny Proud.
Kristina Gomes.
Kristina Gomes Reinwald of Miami was a 46-year-old and an accomplished performer in the Miami house scenes balls. She had a passion for flamenco music and always found a way to include feathers into her performances. She took a particular interest in mentoring young people, many of whom had been rejected by or chosen to leave their birth families, and helped them become comfortable with their identities and who they wanted to be. She was found stabbed to death in her home on February 15th.
Kristina Gomes. Say her name.
Kristina Gomes.
Reinwald.
Kristina Gomes.
Kristina Gomes Reinwald.
Thank you. Taja Shula.
Taja Shula, 22, of Dallas, Texas, was killed by a gunshot. Her badly decomposed body was discovered on July 29th in a vacant field. Police continued to misgender her, complicating efforts to solve her murder, and a vigil planned in her honor was canceled after her family requested time to process and understand, quote, how Taja gendered themselves fully.
Taja Shula. Say her name.
Taja Shula.
Say her name.
Taja Shula.
Say her name.
Taja Shula.
Ty Underwood. Ty Underwood.
Ty Underwood of North Tyler, Texas, was 24 years old. She was a dedicated nursing assistant who wanted to return to school to further her career. She had recently been accepted into and was planning to attend a nursing program. On January 26th, officers found Ty dead in her vehicle from multiple gunshot wounds. Ty Underwood. Say her name.
Ty Underwood.
Say her name.
Ty Underwood.
Say her name.
Ty Underwood.
Thank you. Elisha Walker.
Here.
Elisha.
Elisha Walker. Elisha was 20 years old. She lived in Salisbury, North Carolina. She always kept a smile on her face, regardless of how she felt. A friend remembers that she once almost wrecked her car because she was driving down the street, saw him, and didn't want to pass without seeing her wave. She was missing for almost a year before her body was discovered in a crude grave in Johnson County, North Carolina. Elisha Walker.
Say her name!
Elisha Walker!
Say her name!
Elisha Walker!
Say her name!
Elisha Walker!
Mercedes Williamson.
Mercedes Williamson was only 17 years old and an aspiring cosmetologist who enjoyed spending time outdoors. She was estranged from her Mississippi birth family, so she moved alone to Alabama to stay with a friend who loved her like a daughter. She was stabbed to death on May 30th in Rocky Creek, Alabama, and buried in a shallow grave. Mercedes Williamson.
Say her name!